Immerse yourself in the true beauty of steel, aluminum, stone, magic, warlocks, and luxury in the dry desert at Alibaster Castle. So everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Goopy Sims 2. Coming at you with a speed build this time. And this speed build is actually based off of a real life landmark. Actually located in central Colorado. I'm talking about the one and only Bishop Castle. Now, Wikipedia describes Bishop Castle as an elaborate and intricate one-man project named after its constructor, Jim Bishop, that's become a roadside attraction in central Colorado. Now, the state castle, it's located it's in south central Colorado on State Highway 165, so it's one of those roadside attractions. And it's in the West Mountains of southern Colorado in the San Isabel National Forest, southwest of Pueblo, Colorado. So it's pretty much in the desert, it's really dry. I was on there on vacation and it really inspired me. I had to put myself to the test and try to build this in The Sims 2. And the good thing is that a lot of the wacky architecture and textures and metal fixtures and, you know, the dangling staircases, spiral staircases, actually is already in the game. So I didn't have to use a lot of CC, although I did use some CC that I had that I thought was appropriate. And as you can see here, a challenging part right off the bat was creating the A-frame style roof, since it's at such a high angle. So I wanted to make it even and not lopsided. I didn't want it to be crooked or just one off. Luckily, the the deck that surrounds the building gives a little leeway for that, so I was able to create kind of a wraparound aluminum kind of deck. And just a little bit of history about Bishop Castle. Jim Bishop, that is, bought the land for the site for less than $500 when he was a teenager. And construction was originally actually supposed to be for a family cottage, but that started in 1969. And after Jim Bishop was putting rocks down to surround the building, neighbors were noting that it looked like a castle, so Jim Bishop actually took that and ran with it and started making a castle. And then on a tragic note, in 1988, Bishop's third child, 4-year-old Roy, was killed in a logging accident at the castle site. When Bishop was asked in 2016 why he continued to build the castle, he replied, quote, "Well, what am I going to run to? He loved this place," end quote. So it has a little bit of a sentimental value and historical value. Unfortunately, a life was lost, that of his own son. And there are parts of the castle, I will admit, that are a little bit freaky to go on, but I did anyways. I went on most of the castle. I did not go on the very tippity top of the spiral staircase tower, the bell tower. And I did not go up all the way to the top. It was at the very tippity top. It was no railing guard, and yeah, but I went almost to the top. It was a long way up and a long way down, but very much worth it. So I was trying to recreate that, and here you'll see I go up about 20 levels. It seems it's not that much, but maybe about 10 levels of spiral staircases going up. And making some chambers too. There's some different rooms and hallways in the castle, so I wanted to recreate that a little bit. Of course, it's not perfect, it's not an exact recreation, but it's a little bit of what I remember, a little bit of going off of photographs, and kind of my imagination as well. And of course, there's limitations of building and design, so I had to take that in consideration too. The windows are not too accurate in this build. And I didn't build the bell tower around the spiral staircase, I kind of left it naked going up. Alright, a little bit of background again on the Bishop Castle. According to Roadside America, actually, for most of 40 years, Jim Bishop worked on the castle. He was engaged in a running battle with Washington bureaucrats over the rocks that he used. Apparently they were sourced from the National Forest surrounding the property, and Jim felt that they were, quote, his for the taking, and that the government wanted to charge him per truckload, end quote. The dispute was settled, and in 1996 he was challenged by the local and state government, this time over unsanctioned road signs that pointed to the site. They settled that dispute by issuing official road signs, so looks like he got to keep signage, although it's official signage by the state, so depending on how you view that, that could be better or a little bit worse than how it was originally, but regardless, at least he still is advertising, pointing to his castle, so it's not like he was stripped away of his voice 100% there. Interesting nonetheless. Wikipedia doesn't have anything further on that topic. However, the site Wikipedia continues has become a tourist attraction, and RoadsideAmerica.com devoted a chapter to the castle and rated it, quote, major fun, and describing it as, quote, one man's massive obsessive labor of medieval fantasy construction, end quote. But it's also issued a, quote, parents alert, unquote, warning potential visitors that Jim Bishop is a, quote, tough-talking man with strong, extreme beliefs, and sometimes he expresses them bluntly and loudly. If you and your children want to avoid potentially offensive rants, including politics, you may want to steer clear, end quote. And I will say, when I was there, yes, I saw the signage, the homemade signage that had some interesting takes on kind of like environmental angles and political angles too, mostly, and control. There was a television in the basement, and you'll see I add that in a little bit, and some literature that kind of what I think aligns with the beliefs that the owner Jim Bishop was spewing. And I think I saw Jim Bishop when I was there in the TV area, which I'm building here in this octagon. You'll see in a while, but yeah, so I can definitely attest to the propaganda portion of this. Moving along in the Wikipedia article, in winter of 2014 and 15, a dispute developed over control of the castle after Jim Bishop and his wife Phoebe were both diagnosed with cancer, and David Merrill, who Jim considered a friend, was made trustee of Bishop Castle. According to Westward.com, Merrill turned the site into Castle Church for the redemption, according to the Custer County Clerk and Recorder's Office. But since then, the bishops have spent $20,000 trying to get a clear title to Bishop Castle, and to get Merrill's name off all paperwork. Now this has since been resolved, with Merrill no longer on the paperwork. Here's a fun fact about Bishop Castle that you probably didn't know. A song about the castle called Fire-Breathing Dragon is featured on the 2017 album The Castle Builder by English musician Kid Carpet. And yes, there is a castle on the real, or there is a dragon on the real Bishop Castle, a dragon sculpture fixture that kind of overlooks one of the side areas. And in the game, there's a little dragon architectural piece that you can add. So you'll see I add that in homage and tribute to the real dragon statue. And on March 28, 2018, a fire actually did ignite inside a Bishop Castle property. It really got a hold of it. It seems that it actually ruined the gift shop and a guest house on property. The fire is speculated to be electrical and did not damage the castle itself. The castle is actually made of mostly stone. Despite the fire, the attraction reopened to the public later that week, while being supported with donations and volunteer labor. So it looks like the community came out during the fire incident and helped out, and they were up and running within days. And the gift shop is really nice. It was not too big, but it was really cozy. It had some clothes, some trinkets, some rocks, souvenirs, and I tried to recreate as much as I can. I added a bathroom area, and then here's a little food hall stall area for like concessions and such. Alright, now I'm going to go back in time and go to the Bishop Castle website and read you a little bit of history there. A little bit of a different angle from the Wikipedia article. For nearly 60 years, Jim Bishop has been constructing one of the most impressive monuments to preservance in Colorado, and this is straight up from their website. Bishop Castle is a monumental statue in stone and iron that cries loud testament to the beauty and glory of not only having a dream, but sticking with your dream no matter what, and most importantly, that if you do believe in yourself and strive to maintain that belief, anything can happen. 3 full stories of interior rooms complete with a grand ballroom, soaring towers and bridges with vistas of 100 miles, and a fire-breathing dragon make the Bishop Castle quite the unforgettable experience. Visitors are always welcome free of charge. Not in my game though, and the castle itself is always open. Alright, so that was their little intro biography. They have a learn more button, so I'm gonna click that. And you can see I'm kind of going with the castle-y vibes with the architectural choices I'm making, with especially the doors and the floors, the staircases, the outdoor staircases, at least the cement ones. And I was working a little bit with elevation and landscaping. So maybe some pathways will be kind of janky and messed up, but once I send Alibaster to college and he graduates, I'll move him in here. And it's going to be a home business too. So he's gonna charge customers per hour to stay here, to visit. So that's gonna happen. And I imagine he'll eventually make a decent amount of money. The only real employee he'll need is, well, 2 I guess, the barista and the gift shop attendant, because everything else is pretty self-serviceable. It's just kind of a walking tour, and I believe the food stand already comes with an employee on deck, so I don't need to hire someone for this little food stand that I'm gonna put in. You'll see that. But here I am on the Bishop Castle About page on their website. I'm just gonna read through this. It's called, well, this part is titled The Early Years. Here we go. Let's talk about being inspired. Young Jim Bishop, in 1959, at the ripe old age of 15, paid $450 for a 2.5-acre parcel of land enclosed on 3 sides of the majestic Sanibel National Forest in southern Colorado. It was money saved from mowing lawns, throwing newspapers, and working with his father, Willard, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is me personally speaking. In the family ornamental iron works. Jim had dropped out of high school that year over an argument from his English teacher who yelled at him, quote, "You'll never amount to anything, Jim Bishop," end quote. Ever since he was a boy, Jim was powerfully drawn toward the mountains visible to the west from Pueblo, and having found a small 2.5-acre parcel one weekend on a bicycle journey with some friends, he convinced his parents to buy it for him with his money. So Willard and Ma, Polly, I guess his ma's name is Polly, which those are two excellent names. I'm gonna definitely name some Sims after them eventually. I'm gonna add that to my Sim name document. But going on. So Willard and Ma Polly signed for the land deal, which Jim wasn't even old enough to do himself, and the family now had heavily forested 2.5 acres at 9,000 feet. Jim and his dad spent the next 10 summers camping out in the land and doing groundwork for a family cabin on the site. Setting the stage for what was to come, Jim soon learned that he really enjoyed swinging an axe and wielding a shovel, or building their clearing with a drive to it, which is now the courtyard between the family cabin and the castle itself with its driveway. It was in 1967 that Jim and Phoebe got married, a union that they still enjoy to this day. And in 1969, at the age of 25, Jim decided it was time to start building a cabin in the mountains, so they loved. Since rocks are plentiful everywhere and free, he started to build one-room stone cottage. So I actually built a house for Alibaster and his family that and I didn't read this website until just now, but I actually kind of makes sense because it resembles the cottage in a way. It's bigger than a one-bedroom cottage because it's just nice. Not gonna lie, it's 3 bedrooms. It's I think 5 stories, 4 or 5 stories. But it's nice. It's a nice witch's house, or a warlock's house, I'm sorry, for the warlock and his family. And here I'm just adding a little pathway between those 2 chambers. I didn't see anything like this at least from what I can remember when I was there in the ballroom area looking up, but I thought it'd be cool to add a little catwalk. Alright, a little bit more from their website. This section of the website is titled The Birth of a Castle. Alright, snow doesn't melt completely at 9,000 feet, usually until the middle of May, sometimes even into June, so the summer building season is a short one, especially when you're dealing with mortar, which cannot freeze while it's drying. There's only so much that can be done in a couple months while still working in the ornamental iron shop to support the family. Jim started building his cabin, and after a while, Jim and Willard started trading off 2-week stints, one at the shop running the business, and one up the mountain working on the family cabin. This lasted until the late spring of 1971, where the problem of getting running water into the cabin arose. Willard suggested putting it in a large metal tank that he had salvaged from a welding job to be a gravity-fed cistern that they'd have filled once or twice a summer. Jim thought it'd be functional, and construction began on the water tank. It is a 40-foot metal cylinder, which Willard surrounded with stonework. Jim continued to build his cottage, and the walls grew. Throughout the summer, family, friends, a couple local ranchers, and even some family members commented that it looked like they were building a castle. So this kind of similar to what the Wikipedia article was saying earlier. Quote, "Hey Jim, that looks like a turret or something," unquote. Quote, "What are you building, a castle?" Unquote. Jim heard that enough times that by the time the late spring 1972 rolled around, his imagination has been stirred something fierce, and Mr. Jim Bishop started telling friends and family that he was in fact building a castle. So here you can see the gift shop. I really wanted to recreate it for what it was when I was there. I bought some shorts and a little geode coaster there. So you'll see I have a little rock stand that I'll add a little bit later. Added a fridge for refrigeration, like a drink and stuff, and a little dog bed and a microwave, which was there. This is the TV area where I saw Jim. It wasn't exactly laid out like this, but it just happened to work with how I built it, so. And then here are the bathrooms. I did not use any bathroom facilities at this place when I visited, so I don't know what they looked like, so I just added some simple bathrooms. And I put them next to the concession hall. And most of the campus and the outdoor walkways had railings, had the metal iron railings, so I did add that pretty much all the way throughout. Pay homage, tribute to that. And here off the side I'm actually going to build the family portion, so this is where Alibaster and family live, or will live at least. And I wanted to make the path to the house kind of woodsy, kind of challenging, kind of, you might get lost a little bit. I kind of scaled it after the Viridian Forest in Pokemon, so kind of windy like that. You might be able to run into a skunk or a penguin if you're walking through and get startled. Throw a Pokeball. So the house isn't too big when it comes to floor space, but I did build it up a few levels, so there is some space in that regard. Alright, I'm going to continue reading a little bit more history off the Bishop Castle website. This section is titled, It Just Keeps On Growing. As the castle grew, so did word of the guy up in the mountains who was pursuing the American dream to be king of your own castle. People came to visit more and more often, and Jim would also often be asked if he wanted help building his castle. For the first 8 years, the answer was always, sure. And in those 8 years, not a single person ever kept their word and showed up to help. In a fit for cynical frustration, Jim vowed that, quote, by God, I've gotten this far by myself. If you're gonna do something right, do it yourself, unquote. And probably another thing or two that really shouldn't be printed. So, like the castle itself, the idea of the castle being a one-man project was born in the process of the doing and was not an original intention or childhood dream like many people think. And he kept building, and the Bishop Castle grew. The next section is titled, Other Discoveries Along the Way. Many of the features of the Bishop Castle were discovered intuitively or stumbled upon as the building unfolded. Some would say suggested themselves. In the process of the castle building, Jim discovered that he also really enjoyed building his body too. He even set up an old army wall tent in the clearing where he would work out the weights for a couple hours in the evenings after built with stone and mortar all day. Oh, that's kind of cool, I didn't know that. As he became increasingly involved in the weightlifting regime physically, he also discovered that realm of mind, where his principles in building could also be applied to his life, balance in everything. This became an idea he strove for improving of himself. Through his stonework, his body, and in his mind. It was throughout the approach that Jim soon realized he would find himself completely visualizing what he could build next, and how it would all fit together on such a large scale. There are no plans, blueprints, or anything other than one Jim did to illustrate his book called Castle Building from My Point of View. The more Jim experienced massive wonder himself about how features lined up or fell into place is when he started suspecting that maybe something more was going on. That maybe it was the creator of all things working through him in his magnificent endeavor that seemed to have a spirit of its own. Jim started describing the Bishop Castle as built by one man with the help of God. There's really no other way to explain it, and it kept growing. So that's a little history deep dive into Bishop Castle, located in Rye, Colorado, United States. And here you can see me adding kind of the architectural simplicities to the house portion of the build. That's the back, actually, with the two angled doors. And I just wanted to extend the patio a little bit, so I extended it there, added a little bit of angle. And I like to add staircases sometimes kind of cut or sunken into the patio like that, so it doesn't stick out ajar. I did that actually on the both front end and on the back. And the windows I copied from the castle. However, I did not use the stained glass windows. And of course, gotta save my game every now and then, because you know when it crashes, it sucks. The music that is playing is courtesy of the Sims 2 radio stations. I'm actually adding the song title credits now to my videos, so you can see at all times what song is playing, in case you want to look it up for yourself. All these are from YouTube, from Sims 2 radio YouTube channel, so you can look them up and listen to it there. Okay, I'm gonna read a little bit more from the website since they have so much good content and it really would hurt to not include it. Okay, this portion is titled Feats of Strength. In order to pursue the totality of what he could visualize, Jim Bishop employed anything and everything that was available to him. He had apprenticed and then mastered with his father in the family's Bishop ornamental iron shop, welding and scroll bending and learning how to fit things together for most of his life. Jim did everything, hauling rock from the state highway ditches, felling timber, and then milling it into lumber, building roadway ties into forms for his arches. He's used the same form over and over, building scaffolding as he went. He hand-dug holes up to 12 feet for the foundation, mixed all of his own mortar, carried it, usually up to wherever he was working, created and rigged complex systems of pulleys and come-alongs to hoist such things as tree trunks to the floor supports, and stone by stone his dreams were being made manifest. Jim handles each and every stone in the castle an average of 6 times before it rests in its final configuration in the massive reorganizing of scattered granite in the Rocky Mountains into the form of the Bishop Castle. So yeah, Alibaster Newson is going to be a master architect actually, which I believe is the level 9 of the architecture career in The Sims 2. So he's going to be actually a little bit modeled after Jim Bishop in a way. Both are master architects in my opinion, and it'll be interesting to have that parallel. Okay, I'm going to continue on with the website. This section is called The Dream Defined. Over the years, as the castle grew, more and more people heard about the phenomenon up in the mountains and began showing up in increasing numbers. Friends told Jim that he could be making some money off of what was becoming an attraction. Jim felt differently though. He hated it when he was a kid and couldn't go to the zoo or the ballpark because admission for the whole family was too high for a bunch of working class folks. Seeing as the original idea for a castle came from people visiting the property, Jim figured that if people were welcome onto the property for free, then he could put out a donation box and people could put in there what he felt comfortable putting in there. The honor system would be the financier. I'm sorry, misread. This increased Jim's feelings of the castle truly by becoming a palace of American freedom. He felt like he worked hard enough down in Pueblo to support the family that he wanted to build as much as the visitors provided for. This has frustrated him at times over the years, wanting to build larger items such as an elevator and not having the funds to do so. But he feels so strongly about the dream being kept intact that he's even written into legal documents that the Bishop Castle will always remain free as long as it stands. This belief in America being a free country made up of free persons has fueled his passions in building the castle to represent the American dream in an undeniably tangible and awe-inspiring form. So that's a really inspiring piece of text there. Whoever wrote that, nice job. That was really good. And here you can see me adding a greenhouse to the back. And located next to the greenhouse is the Warlock's Coven house. So that's kind of where I'm going to have the Warlock throne and maybe the spell book. We'll see. You can't really decorate until the Warlock moves in, so just gonna have to see when I move Alibaster in. But for the time being, it's just gonna be empty, and I'm adding a little bit of garden plots to that greenhouse. So a little bit more about the history from their website. This is the financial mechanics of building. After 8 painstaking years of paperwork without the aid of a lawyer, Jim's wife Phoebe accomplished what many had told her was impossible on her own. In 1984, she received a 501c3 nonprofit charter from the IRS, which allowed her to create the Bishop Castle Nonprofit Charitable Foundation for Newborn Heart Surgery. This formalized the castle's ability to set up and maintain a donation box on the premises, through which the construction is funded. Phoebe also created the first gift shop on the premises, in a one-room log cabin that the family had built directly across from the courtyard, as you'll be seeing many times throughout this video. From the castle, which she then operated for 13 years. It was through the proceeds of the gift shop and the donation box that materials were purchased and continued construction. And though the management of the gift shop has now changed hands twice since Phoebe decided to stop doing it for herself, the gift shop and the donation box are still the primary sources of funding for the construction of the Bishop Castle. The charity that the family set up is designed to financially help local families with medical expenses for young children that aren't covered by insurance. Even though the IRS told the bishops that they weren't required to make any donations to the charity unless the castle is completed, they've managed the charity for newborn heart surgery in such a way that numerous donations have been made over the years. They feel like they probably have the only charitable foundation in these United States that was created and maintained by working folks. So that's pretty interesting. Did not know that charity existed. I do not recall seeing the donation box. Maybe I just walked by it and didn't realize what it was. I don't know. I'm not too good with that kind of stuff, but I was surprised that it was free when I did go. I thought they could definitely charge money for it. And in The Sims 2, I like being greedy, so I am charging money for people to visit in The Sims 2, but that could always change. We'll see what happens. And Alibaster Newsom moves in and runs shop. Okay, a little bit more on history of Bishop Castle. Enter the Dragon. In the mid-1980s, a friend of Jim's was driving a truck full of discarded stainless steel warming plates from the Pueblo County Hospital to the landfill. He decided that Jim could probably put this motherload of expensive stainless steel to better use than the dump could, so dropped it off at the Bishop Ornamental Iron Shop instead. Jim spent the winter building a chimney out of the steel, riveting thousands of hammered scales that he hand-cut out of plates together on the steel frame. The Dragon was completed in the spring, and Jim hauled it up the mountain to tackle the daunting task of raising and installing this incredible sculpture. to where it rests today, perched off the front of the grand ballroom, 80 feet in the air. Later on came the addition of a burner from a hot air balloon that was donated, which Jim put in the back of the dragon's throat, making it a true fire-breathing dragon. Okay, that is cool. I did not know that piece of interesting information. Love the hot air balloon idea. Maybe I'll put up burning, they have those fire plates in The Sims 2. Maybe I'll put one of those in that area later when I open up shop and move Alibaster in, but that's really nice. So this is a bedroom for a child, and I put some magical stuff in there, a desk, a chair, and a dresser. And that's located next to the primary bedroom, and then outside of there I have a little cat basket for the pet cats. Here is another child's bedroom and a soon-to-be bathroom. And the walk-in shower is that 2-tile rectangular window-covered structure. So you'll see that'll be a walk-in shower. Alright, there are two more paragraphs. There are two more paragraphs of history on the Bishop Castle About page on their website. So, here we go on unimaginable heights reached. Jim is often told that he must not be afraid of heights. The way he figures it, he must began at the bedrock base of the earth and has been gradually building up, so gradual that as height grew, he was as comfortable with it as being on the ground. The feeling has to be a lot like the difference between seeing a child growing up every day and not seeing them for a year at a time. One is hardly noticeable, and the other striking in its effect. Jim's experience with the castle has been so intimate. He's held every single stone in there on average of 6 times. That he's grown stone by stone as well and doesn't mind the heights at all. In 1994, Jim reached a point with the square Andriata Tower, named after the family that donated the old school bells that hang in it, where he felt satisfied that it was high enough. That didn't last long, and in 1995, he built and installed a 30-foot tall steel steeple on top of the masonry, taking the total height up to roughly 160 feet. That's about the size of a 16-story building. Jim has remained satisfied with the overall height of his castle to the present, though he recently has been threatening to build one more corner outer wall towers to the 250 feet because a local zoning official told him he couldn't build over 25, and he just added a 0. Okay. So that's a little interesting between Jim and the local zoning official. And as it stands, today's visitors to the Bishop Castle will find an impressively monumental statue in stone and iron that cries loud testament to the beauty and glory of not only having a dream, but sticking with your dream, no matter what. And most importantly, that if you do believe in yourself and strive to maintain that belief, anything can happen. 3 full stories of interior rooms, complete with a grand ballroom, soaring towers and bridges with vistas of 100 miles, and a fire-breathing dragon, make the Bishop Castle quite the unforgettable experience. Visitors are always welcome free of charge, and the castle itself is always open. Please respect and trust and honor while visiting. So the castle is open 24/7. You can legit go there at 2 in the morning and they welcome it, and you don't have to pay a dime. I really love that, you know, I look up to that. You can just do what you want. Just vibe. That's nice. Stress-free. Makes the choice of wanting to go there an easy one. Because there's not really anything to lose. You're not losing money. You're not racing against the clock. It's leave at a certain time. And yeah, it's just nice. So apparently you can have a wedding at the Bishop Castle in Rye, Colorado. They have a wedding ceremonies page on their website. And it looks like they do it year-round. Unfortunately, they cannot allow receptions, private parties, or the like. Okay, so it's just the wedding ceremony. They have a couple rules. No alcohol is allowed in the castle. You'll not be allowed to close off any part of the castle to the public at any time during the ceremony. You must reserve your date and time at least 2 weeks prior. There's no heat in the castle, and there are no facilities available for changing and dressing, nor any services or assistance in accessing the castle. And a suggested donation for a wedding at the castle is $500. If you would like to, or if you'd like more information or like to book a wedding, you can email Bishop Castle on their website. So it looks like if you want to get married at Bishop Castle, it costs you around $500. And you can't have your reception there, but you can get married and get out. And you can't really be a Karen when you're there and take up the whole place. You have to understandably let everyone else enjoy the castle like they intended to. So that's really cool. No alcohol allowed. It doesn't say anything about smoking or anything about cannabis. And they just ask that you tell them 2 weeks in advance that you're going to get married there. That's pretty much it. And then their gift shop, which as you can see here that I'm building now with the souvenir racks and such, they actually have their own website. It's bishopcastlekeepsakes.com. And I'm just looking at it now. You can actually buy souvenirs online from there, which is interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, you can buy your own Bishop Castle merch if you want. Maybe I should make some Alibaster Castle merch. But there you can see the opposing two gray women statues. It's kind of symbolic in the front there of, I don't know, however you want to imagine that. And there's the dragon, the little dragon. And at this point I'm just changing the carpeting and the floors, mostly in the bedrooms and the bathrooms, also the dining room and the kitchen. And all the other floors at the house I did change a little bit, just a little bit nicer stone. And the walls too, I changed the walls to different earthy tones for those darker rooms, but I kept the block stone walls throughout the rest. And I had this perfect opportunity to use this knight in shining armor right in the front plaza area. Although the Bishop Castle in Rye, Colorado didn't have anything like that, I thought it was a good addition and it fit really well with the aesthetic, so I added that there. And at this point I was just going through and adding in decorations and, you know, little pieces of lighting that I might have missed, or, you know, knickknacks, statues. And in the Bishop Castle ballroom there wasn't statues or a lot that I remembered, at least, or a lot of art pieces, but I did add a lot of statues and fixtures in there for customers to view and enjoy while they're there. And there was a lot of beautiful stained glass artwork, or windows, I guess, at Bishop Castle, so added some stained glass in tribute, and just some interesting decorations that I thought fit the aesthetic a little bit. And I added a lot of these old furnace heaters. They're technically fire places in The Sims 2, and they look just like the ones that I saw at Bishop Castle. And I wanted to add some more cat stuff, so of course the Warlock will have cats. The Sims 2 witches and warlocks will gain bonds and friendship with cats faster than non-witch and warlock Sims. So it makes sense to have a cat or 2 or 3 or more. Then I moved the mailbox and the garbage cans to be outside the residence, added the open and close sign, and just adding some paintings. And I have no idea what the cabin or guest house or any of the residential areas look like of Bishop Castle grounds. So this is just me making what I want and kind of just going crazy with my imagination. So this does not resemble anything about what their house would look like or the Jim's living place. But this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, share it with any friends or family members especially, that you think would love this. And check out Bishop Castle if you're ever in Colorado. Located kind of near Colorado Springs in Rye, Colorado. So hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed day, and we will catch you in the next video or live stream. So.